Alright, just a little preface real quick, hopefully real quick, regarding our in-class project, which we will be doing with the other parallel, half of grade 7. It's the Giver graphic novel. All of these documents and supporting documents you will be getting in your Google Docs, so keep an eye out for that. You need to be watching this video obviously ahead of time. You got this in your Gmail. Let's go have a look at this. What we'll see real quick are a number of examples which will show us what graphic novels might look like. Many of you have read graphic novels for your independent reading section in grade 6. And if you haven't, I'm sure you've seen them around in terms of your classmates reading them. And of course, our library has a ton of very nice options for you to look up. But we do not think graphic novels are just that. They're novels. They have the basic and fundamental elements of a novel in terms of our setting and our characters, and characters having some sort of personal investment in us as the readers, caring about them, and some sort of introduced conflict which makes the whole story happen, and then we have this rise in action and climax and resolution. The fundamental difference being that they're graphic in nature, and so they're very illustration based and image based, and the narrative is coupled with these images that we're seeing with these narrative boxes, which we can see up here at the top. Maybe this will work, maybe not, maybe yes. See what this does. So we see this is our narrative box at the top, and that of course just tells us basically where we're at and who's involved and some sort of understanding of setting. And then we have our sort of assortment of what we'll call these speech balloons or dialogue boxes. And what's cool about this is we can associate who's saying what directly with the characters, and of course, it being a graphic novel, we have these sort of association with characters and faces and physicality. A couple more examples. Might have to blow these up, but as you can see, we have our image, our principal image, and within that we have multiple means of explaining text. We have these dialogue pieces, some narrative pieces, a narrative telling us, you know, in a dark alley behind a building late at night, etc., etc. And then of course our characters come in with some dialogue, or we can even get some thought balloons which will tell us what they're thinking. This one's coming from a very popular graphic novel called Mouse, which a lot of you might be reading in the diploma in a couple of years. So once again, we see our dialogue here at the top, and we have our sort of this is working as the first person narrative. We have this I there. This is working much like a sort of a thought balloon telling us what the character is thinking. So what you'll be using with your graphic novel, and go ahead and give you some background about this one more time to remind you, you and your partner will be selecting a passage or a number of pages depending on how we decide to dissect this. It could even be an entire chapter. The two of you are going to dissect this in terms of summarizing, identifying what the most important parts are. We can jump down to that real quick, and we'll go back to this. So you will work in pairs, you will select your scene, you will paraphrase and come up with what you think the most important elements are, and then you'll provide an image. I'll go ahead and show you some final products. This is from another class. Their reading selection was Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. What I like about this bit here, this image is thematically based. Someone is arrested by the law enforcement. Of course, this picture is taken out of context because it's more modern. But we see over here on the right, we have our narrative about what's happening. And they basically write the summary or a gist of the entire passage. This was a series of pages, 7 I believe. And then we have our protagonist saying he didn't kill him, and some law enforcement character through these speech balloons. Another example from the same assignment. We see we have our speech balloon at the top, and we have our narrative box at the bottom. You can, in a graphic novel, you can, of course, what we want to see is, without a doubt, we want to see every slide that each group makes have a narrative box at the bottom, and that tells the story. It tells what's going on, where we are, who's involved, maybe even motive, why they're there, a little more details in terms of setting. In addition to that, we'll get dialogue, and a great way to express what characters think and other forms of characterization is the things that they say and how they say things to whom and the interaction they have with other characters. You have a thought balloon. A thought balloon would be very much in the first person narrative, or even if it wasn't a standard narrative, it might say he or she thought to himself. We'll call that third person omniscient. We might even see a scream balloon. So this would be very much the same thing as a speech balloon, but it would show like extreme emotion, maybe anger, maybe exhilaration. Back to our examples. Now we'll go back into this real quick. You will have a link to this. It's very simple. It basically says the same thing it says here. It's your summarizing checklist. So two of you will be together. You will have a nice scene selection or passage selection document. The two of you will first come, first serve, pick ones you feel you'll be more successful with. Get together, brainstorm, look at the number of pages and come up with answers to the following questions more or less. And how do you know that this, or what is the most important elements from your passage? What would the reader have to take away from your passage in order to get the basic or the gist idea of that section of the overall story? What bits and pieces would you absolutely have to have in there so they wouldn't be lost in order to progress to the next stage of the story? And once you have that written, and you can eventually manipulate that into your narrative box, which looks like this bit over here on the right. That guy right there. And then you think about an image. These guys right here found this on the internet, and we do this all the time in terms of thematically finding images, in terms of creating a scenario. What will you look for? Those sorts of things. This one, they found it. It actually is a film adaptation of the novel. Yours probably should not be and won't be. We'll stay away from obvious things like, some sort of images from the film they give her. Think about what's going on in that scene, and that is the scenario, that's the situation, and that's the sort of image you will look for. You can create this image yourself. You might even, you and your partner, be the characters involved. You might even take an assortment of images. You could even use Photoshop and sort of cut and copy and crop and take those images and make a collage. You can extract them with Photoshop, and you can even dump them into your Google presentation and make a sort of a collage or a montage of images. All of this will go into our collaborative document. All of you will have access to this. It looks something like this. And this is the template. You have your metaphorical thematic title at the top. We will talk about this in class because we feel this is enough information for now. You have a literal title and tell us the chapter or the passage or the page numbers. You will make a copy of this, put your names at the bottom, and then you will begin to insert your, and of course, because this is also a Google presentation, these are automatically within Google presentation. When you go to insert and you have text box, you have insert shapes, you'll see the ones called callout, and you'll have your screen balloon, and you have your thought balloon and your speech balloon, and you can even put your text box, which works as your narrative box. All of this will be finished before you leave class. It seems like a lot, but it's not too hard if you apply yourself. So there's two of you, and we can imagine it's very important that you know the passage, the pages, or the chapter that you're reading. So without a doubt, make sure you've complied with your at-home reading assignment.